Hey guys, if you're shopping for knives and gear, make sure you check out the description of the video you're watching right now for links to some great online retailers. There's also individual links for knives that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on, YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review slash knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Kansept knives, Kryo. So a little bit of information on Kansept knives. So this is a Kim Ning design, and Kim Ning used to design and work for Kaiser, and they no longer do. They work for, or they essentially are doing these, some of the designs for this company, Kansept. That is the gist of the information. It is, I'm sure there's more information to it, but that's as far as I understand. These knives, I wasn't aware of them other than just the name, and I had seen a couple of videos pop up here and there. But they contacted me on Instagram and said, hey, would you like to take a look at some of our knives? And I thought, yeah, you know what? I would like to experience them. And I am very, if you guys watched the unboxing, I was very pleasantly surprised. Not that I was expecting them to not be high quality. It was just nice to feel, the fact that it was high quality. I was very happy with that. We're going to talk all about that. This knife and a few others were directly sent to me from Kansept and provided for review, so thank you very much, Kansept. Here's their logo right here. You guys can find them on Instagram, give them a follow. And of course, follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. Thank you so much to my generous patrons who are supporting me right now. If you'd like to get your hands on some cool stickers and some other benefits, there's of course a link down in the description. All right, let's go ahead and get a measurement of this guy. Overall length of the Kansept Kryo. It is important to know that this is the large version. There is a mini version. I'll be linking this knife and Kansept knives in general down in the description. So if you want to shop, see what all they've got available, you can check those out. Overall length is coming in at just a hair over 8 inches. Your blade length is coming in at 3.5, and then your cutting edge is coming in at about 3.4, something like that. So good. That's a very preferable size for me, very preferable ratios. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons up against the Ontario Rat 1. Rat 1 coming in at 8.6 inches overall. How about up against the Spyderco PM2? Spyderco PM2 coming in at 8.3 inches overall. How about up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue? Ritter Hogue is coming in at 8 inches overall. So you can see there, that's a good size comparison. These are very similar. You're getting, the camera's kind of angled, so it looks like perhaps the Kryo is a little bit longer. They appear to be almost identical, and maybe the Kryo is just a hair longer than the Ritter Hogue, but very similar handle positions as far as where you're going to put your index finger and the rest of your hand, and then the space between that point and the rest of the blade is also very similar. And some of the lines are similar. I don't know. People who enjoy the ergonomics of the Ritter Hogue are going to find some similarities in the Kryo. So I think that's worth pointing out. Last but not least, the Spyderco Para 3. Spyderco Para 3 is coming in at 7.25 inches overall. How's the action of this guy? Here's something. So I've handled a lot of Kaiser knives, and you know, truthfully, guys, I don't want to do it like a direct comparison with Kaiser or anything like that, but that's what I had to go on. So that's was subconsciously, that's where my mind was at, was comparing them. Kaiser does a great job, you know, in their price range. This feels like it feels like Kaiser Plus. That's honestly what it feels like to me. Now, it is a little bit more expensive. So then I mean, I would say the average price that a Kaiser comes in at. So keep that in mind. But yeah, the action is great. This isn't quite fall shut, but I would say it's smooth enough to the point. Sorry, we're at an angle here, so up and down without dropping the knife or running it into the camera is going to be a bit difficult. But it is nice and smooth. Not quite drop shut. Very little friction inside of the pivot. It just feels quality all the way around. On top of that, there is no double clutch. It's easy to close, easy to flip, nice and snappy. It has a nice clicky detent. And yes, there is plenty of access to that opening hole there, so you can do your fun reverse flicks. And honestly, there's quite a bit of room. So if you like to put your finger up here and do it, or you like to, move your finger down the blade a little bit, wherever you want to do that, it's fine. And there's just enough room where you can do the thumb flick, though. That's the least comfortable of the 3 positions. I would just use the flipper tab, honestly. But yeah, it's great. I've got no issues with the action whatsoever. Kansept knives are manufactured in China, just like Kaiser. Just wanted to point that out there. Let's go ahead and do, well, I would do the hardware check, but my tools are in my truck because I adjusted a knife for a local buddy. I'll let you guys know. If you guys want to check out my tools, they are listed down in the description. The pivot there appears to be at least T8, perhaps even T10. You know what? Let's just get out I've got another set here, and I'm going to guess that the pivots, or at least the body screws, are going to be a T8, and then the pivot is likely also going to be at least a T8. Let's take a look here. Boy, you know what? The body screws and the pivot might actually be a T10. Let me grab next size up. Just not my WIA set. Yeah. Yep. And that guy is at least the same. These are all, here's the point. The point is that they're not T6. I don't know why I forgot to pull my tools out of my truck there, but this is nice. This is fantastic. These are all large size fasteners, at least the heads are. That means, considering the minimal amount of hardware and the size of the bit that you're going to need for that, it's going to be easy to take apart. You're not going to have to, there's a lot of depth to the head, so you can get that bit nice and deep, and you don't have to worry about whether the teeth are going to strip out. It's great. I'm really happy with that. It looks like they are titanium, but it tends to be, a little bit more likely to strip than steel. But the depth there of the head is great, and I'm just really happy about that. I really don't like seeing T6 hardware on a knife, and I'm just really happy that this looks like at least T8 or T10 on these guys. Those bits aren't marked, so it's hard to guess, but yeah, the point is that the hardware is going to be easy to remove from the frame, and that's really great. Let's go ahead and do carry profile. So thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. You can see there it is a little bit thicker than the Para 3. Not much. Not a big deal. Let's go ahead and do profile length and height up against two knives that are a bit awkward in the pocket, the Spyderco PM2 and Para 3, but nobody ever really complains about them. So you can see they're a little bit longer. Yeah, it's a little bit longer than the Para 3, a little bit shorter than the PM2, including the flipper tab at its highest point. It might be about the same. I think the PM2 is just a hair taller. In any case, though, if you're somebody that's bothered by a larger flipper tab, which is definitely the case in this guy, it might not be your cup of tea. But for the most part, the profile is one that's going to be reasonable to carry for people who can legally carry it. Let's go ahead and take a look at the inside. We'll use the MSR D4 V2. This one's been modded with a shorter body, but get a look at the inside there. You can pick this light up in my description. There is milling on the inside of the titanium, so that's nice. Appreciate that. You know what? Let's measure the blade stock thickness here real quick. Put this guy down. It looks like it might be kind of a thick blade stock. I'm going to guess about 160 thousandths maybe. 156. We'll go ahead and do that again just to make sure. Zero it out there real quick. Right. Now we got to get this zeroed. I'm going to guess maybe it's probably 155 thousandths. Yeah, it says 157. So there you go. It's a pretty thick blade stock. But not, it's not like Medford thick or anything like that. Overall weight coming in at, honestly, surprising 4.3 ounces. That is the result of that milling. I mean, if the milling was not present, we'd be looking at a 5-ounce knife. This is still over the 4-ounce mark, which some people use to determine whether or not they want to carry it. It's also over the ounce and inch mark, which some people also use. If you're used to carrying full-size knives, this is very preferable to me. My weight range is 4 to 6.5 ounces, and I carry more about the profile. I like full-size knives, so for me, this is going to work. If you regularly carry, the Benchmade Bug Out and the Spyderco Para 3 lightweight, and you wear, athletic shorts or skinny jeans, maybe this isn't going to be for you. So it just depends on how you look at it. I think did we cover everything? I think we went over everything that I needed to cover. Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about the anatomy here. So this version of it is kind of got like a black tumbled finish. There are different versions of it. In fact, if you follow the link to this guy down in the description, you'll see all the different variants that are available. I think there's at least 3. One of them is a really cool, almost, I don't want to call it egg, maybe it's eggshell or orange. It almost looks like orange peel titanium, and that's really, really cool. When I requested this one, I actually had not zoomed in on that one close enough to take a look at it, but that's a nice finish that you definitely don't see at this price range, so I urge you to go check that out, take a look at it. But the contrast between the blue titanium hardware and the blackwashed finish looks nice. They, for whatever reason, did not, translate it to the standoffs. I would have liked to see the standoffs the same color as everything else. I can understand the screw right here. I mean, honestly, when everything is like they did the screws for the pocket clip, they didn't do the screw for the lock bar insert, and they didn't do the standoffs. It's not a big deal, but I'd like to see all the colors are the same, you know. But again, it's not really that big of a deal. As far as like all the corners and edges and things, everything's nicely knocked down. I'm not feeling any excess sharpness. Ergonomically, yeah, fantastic. My fingers fall right into the position that they're meant to fall into, but not being ultra confined. I can move around a little bit and still have some comfort. There is meaningful jimping up here. It's nice and easy to lock into. This is an enlarged sharpening choil. It's not an area that I would suggest you put your finger, but it's there so that when you sharpen it, you have a pleasant experience. The blade looks great. I like the large opening hole right there. It makes for easy access to the blade when you're trying to open it, and it also fits nicely with the overall profile. We've got a flat that carries out about 60% the length of the blade, and then honestly, it's a bit thick down here at the edge, but not anything that's really gonna. I mean, listen, the difference between this and you know, let's say a Spyderco PM2, right? If you're breaking down boxes for about 30 minutes or so, the PM2, yeah, it's that's going to make your life a little bit easier. But for simple cuts, EDC things, the stuff that the vast majority of us use our knives for on a day-to-day basis, this is going to be just fine. The nice thing here is that there's nothing in the cutting path, right? So if you're just making a quick cut through cardboard or rope or paper, whatever, you're going to be fine. It's plenty sharp. It's absolutely sharp. No issue there. Nice sticky edge. Going to be nice, and I mean, if I were to test this on paper, it'd slice right through it, right? The geometry of the blade might slow you down just a little bit, but it's not anything where I'm like, oh my gosh, it's too thick to cut, right? Plenty of robustness carried out to the tip, so you're going to be just fine in terms of your puncture tasks. The Kansept logo is cool. It just looks like a kind of an X, like a tribal X. Because of the enlarged opening hole, they really didn't have another option to put it anywhere else on the blade. It looks a bit awkward right there, but it's not really that big of a deal. You can see this is S35EN, which is great. Unfortunately, we have this K1001A2, which I don't know why it needs to be on the blade. It is. It's not really that big of a deal. And then they put Kryo on the other side. I know it's the Kryo. I mean, in a situation where, let's assume that I've bought this and this is mine. I know that it is the Kryo, so I don't feel like it needs to be there. But it's really small. You can barely see it. Same way with this side. The only thing that you're really going to see at first glance is the logo on the blade, which is fine. There's not really a big deal there. Let's go ahead and by the way, all the edges up here on the spine of the blade nicely knocked down because this is a tumbled blade. Now on the satin version of this, there is a satin version. I'm going to guess it's a bit sharper, maybe not. Again, that's not really that big of a deal. Some people care about that, some people don't. What I'm happy with are the the extra bevels on the inside of this opening hole right here, which I would hope would translate to the satin finished ones. I like to be able to reverse flick my knives without having, you know, my fingernails shredded and the fingernail dust going everywhere. And this one is totally fine. It's very comfortable to flip. Doesn't have that. The reason I don't like it, it makes me cringe when I flick a knife. If a bunch of my fingernail comes off, it makes me not want to fidget with it as much, and it drives me crazy. Yeah, you can take some sandpaper and knock that down yourself. I always like to see it come nice and knocked down from the factory. That always makes me real happy. The flipper tab, definitely. It's got those little bevels on the outside, making you know, what would otherwise be a really pointy edge nice and soft and easy on the hands. It is pretty large, but because of that and because of the shape of it, you can definitely push button it if you want to. It's more of a light switch style flipper tab, and it's very comfortable. The landing zone back here is nice. There's really nothing to complain about. There is a position for the pocket clip on the face of the show side of the knife, which means left-handed people can carry it. It is still a right-handed frame lock, but I'm right-handed and I have no problem manipulating a right-hand frame lock. So you know, you left-handed people will probably be even better there. Standoffs, again, I wish they were anodized, but I do like how they look. They look really, really nice. An open body pillar construction is great. It's very easy to clean out. So that's nice. The pocket clip is very simple, but it goes along with the design and it carries deep enough. This isn't what I'd consider a shallow carry clip. It does have that nice ramp where it's not really a swoop, which is what I prefer. It's still not something that I feel like is going to readily catch on things. And honestly, yeah, it's very pleasant in and out of the pocket. No problem. If you're wearing jeans or you're wearing sweatpants or whatever, sorry, I got a piece of hair with that one. That is really trying to stick to me. Yeah, it's great. It looks nice. I like the blue look with the rest of the knife. Now it is more of a matte blue, whereas the titanium hardware is more reflective, but I don't really feel like it's that big of a deal. Yeah, it's nice. They have just opted out of the lanyard hole. Thank you. We don't really need those. So I know there's still 7 or 8 people on the planet who really like lanyards, and that's fine, but most people aren't attaching lanyards to their knives anymore. There is a steel lock bar insert that doubles as the over travel stop. The knife came absolutely perfectly centered with no detent lash, for anybody who's wondering. I don't like feeling wiggle in the blade when it's in the closed position. I like it to feel tight, just like it does in the open position, and it absolutely does. There's no movement whatsoever. This has an internal stop pin that follows the blade. That's nice. It's one of those where you've got, contact points on either side of the blade, whether it's on the outside or the inside. It just doesn't really matter to me. I like both designs. I feel personally, I can't prove this, but I feel personally that that's a little bit of a stronger setup if you are using the knife in a way that is slightly outside of the realm of normal for a knife, right? If you cut deep into something and it's the friction kind of wedges the blade in there and you got to kind of wiggle it back out. I feel like that pressure is mitigated away from the pivot a little bit when you've got a setup like this where the stop pin follows the blade, or you've got external stops that rest on the frame. I think that's nice, right? It's probably pretty minor if there is a benefit there, but I appreciate that. I think that's cool, and then you don't have to see the stop pin back here, which is also kind of nice. So guys, this is another titanium frame lock using S35VN, and they come in at about $200. So this is one of the most common styles of knife that are out there. They're not necessarily doing anything brand new here. It is a nice, straightforward looking titanium frame lock with a good blade, reasonable cutting edge, nice materials. There's some contouring on the titanium, which is nice. I kind of like the lines. It's very simple looking. This is a nice and safe design. There's nothing truly exceptional going on here, but this is a good knife. I mean, it's straightforward. It's a nice titanium frame lock. It's going to do exactly what you expect it to do, right? I mean, anybody who's considering purchasing this, if you like how it looks, it is going to be exactly what you expect it to be. The highlights here are, it's very easy to access that thumb slot. Really, really like that. In the case of the blue and the black, I think that really, really looks good. I love that the hardware is a nice large size, so it's going to be easy to take apart. Just all the little tiny things that I look for, things that some companies tend to get wrong, they've done correctly here. There's very little to complain about. The edge is a little bit thick, right? I would have liked to see the blue on the carry over to the standoffs and the lock bar stabilizer screw, just so we have a totally matching set of hardware. But everything else, no double clutch, easy to flip, no sharp corners, milling on the inside of the titanium, contouring, nice ergonomics, easy to deploy, easy to disengage. I mean, all of that. Check, check, check. Yeah, it's great. Not super special, but it's great. I like this knife. I can definitely recommend it. Do I think it's a good knife for the money? $200? Yeah, they're right in line with a lot of companies doing the same thing, right? Very competitive. Very, very competitive price range for people looking at some of these higher quality knives. But yeah, they did it really, really well. This is a good knife. I really just can't find a lot to complain about here. So I'm going to be putting this in my most recommended knives playlist. So you can check that out if you'd like to see what else I recommend. But yeah, if you want to check out this knife and the other variants of it, and the other knives that Kansept has available right now, check out the links in my description. You can shop everything that they've got. Guys, that's going to be pretty much it for today's knife review. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.